Have you ever heard stories about people waking up from a coma and suddenly speaking a language they never consciously learned? It sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie, but it's actually happening in real life, and it led doctors and scientists scratching their heads. How long would it take for an average person to learn a foreign language? How much time and effort would it take to learn a language even at a basic level? Weeks? Months? Or even years? It would definitely take considerable time, yet we have several examples when someone, usually after some kind of trauma, just starts to speak a foreign language out of nowhere. This rare and mysterious phenomenon is known as foreign language syndrome or xenoglossy. One of the most well-known cases involves a Croatian teenager who reportedly woke up from a coma speaking fluent German, despite previously having only basic knowledge of the language. Another case involved in the US man who emerged from a coma speaking fluent Spanish, even though he had never been fluent before, and the list could go on. So, how does this happen? There are a few theories. Some experts believe it may be linked to how the brain stores and processes language. Even a limited exposure to a language, like studying in school or watching foreign TV shows, can leave deep traces in the brain. A coma or brain injury might somehow unlock or push on the surface those hidden memories, allowing the person to temporarily access and use them. Others think it could be a mix of neurological confusion and selective memory. After trauma, a brain might suppress certain native language skills and prioritize others, making it seem like a new language has taken over. However, many scientists are skeptical. True xenoglossy is extremely rare and not yet fully proven. Most cases involve languages the person had some previous exposure to, even if they weren't fluent before. Let's look at the example of Michael Boatwright, who was in February 2013 found unconscious in a motel room in Palm Springs, California. Upon regaining consciousness, he identified himself as Johan Ek and could only speak Swedish, despite carrying identification documents that confirmed his name as Michael Thomas Boatwright, a US Navy veteran from Florida. Medical professionals diagnosed him with transient global amnesia and dissociative fugue state, a rare psychological condition where a person loses access to personal memories and may adopt a new identity. Further investigation revealed that Boatwright had lived in Sweden intermittently between 1981 and 2003, which could explain his fluency in the language, yet he was never confirmed as fluent by anyone who knew him. More interestingly, despite all efforts to reconnect him with his past or real personality, including locating his sister, Mr. Boatwright struggled with his new reality. Tragically, in April 2014, he was found deceased in Sweden, with authorities ruling his death as suicide. Another example of waking up from a coma speaking a foreign language is the story of an Australian man, Ben McMahon, who after a car crash and a coma, woke up speaking fluent Mandarin and, interestingly, unable to speak English at first. Well, Ben had been studying Mandarin in school and had traveled to China for a few months, so he was exposed to the language at some level, but acquiring fluent Mandarin in just a few months would be a nearly impossible task to anyone. So how was it possible to Ben to wake up from a coma and speak one of the most difficult language of the world fluently? Although scientists agree on this is an impressive case of language dominance shift after trauma, but they emphasize that he did learn the language beforehand. Still, I would challenge any of them to try and succeed with this task. If we want to look a bit deeper into this subject, we couldn't avoid asking the question that why someone feels the inspiration to start to learn a certain language, or from where some people receive the inspiration to move abroad and live in a certain country. Would it be fair not to exclude the theory of reincarnation when it comes to why people feel attracted to certain languages, countries, or cultures? Well, this would be a great subject, possibly for another video. As in the end, the human brain is still full of mysteries. Stories like these remind us how strange and fascinating our minds can be. Thank you for watching this video.